All right, let's go then. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order as extended on June 15th, 2021, the governor's signing of Senate Bill 2475, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, this meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties for the right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found below. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the City of Easthampton website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Should an interruption occur in which the meeting ends abruptly, the meeting will not be restarted, and all agenda items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting. It is 6:01. I will now call to order the September 27th, 2020 meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. Are there any, public concerns, non-agenda items?
I have not received any.
Great. Moving on, public hearings and meetings. Public hearing continued from September 13th. Notice of intent filed by Lathrop Community Inc. at 100 Bassett Brook Drive, map 104, lot 2 for improvements to existing trail network, Mass DEP file number 1510315.
Yeah, they've requested a continuance again. The next meeting is October 25th. And just as an update, they had a change in the administration at Lathrop Community. That's part of the reason why it's been delayed. And then they're getting the new person up to speed, and then you keep working on, working towards that revised submission. So,
excellent.
Motion to continue to October 23rd at 6 p.m.
25th.
What?
Yeah. we don't have two meetings. October 11th is a holiday. I don't know which one it is.
Nor will we meet on a Saturday.
25th.
Second.
All those in favor, roll call vote. August?
Aye.
Fusa?
Aye.
Buttrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Teffer is absent. Whittemore?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, next item. Public meeting, request for determination of applicability filed by the Arcadia Wildlife Sanctuary at 127 Combs Road, map 107, lot 1 for installation of 2 sheds.
Hello, hi, Jonah here, the director over at Arcadia.
Welcome.
Thanks so much. Nice to see you all. Yeah, so we're looking to put in 2 sheds, 10 by 12 and 8 by 12 to accommodate our increased outdoor programming. We've always done outdoor programming, but now it's even more so. So we're having a need for space that's accessible from the outdoors. So we want to put one by our new pavilion, which we built last year, which I am fakely sitting under at the moment, and one right next to our visitor center. Are 2 key spots for a lot of our outdoor programming right now. So they both are within the buffer in the range of 50 to 60 feet from the wetland. And we would need to, one is basically, it's lawn there right next to the visitor center. So it'd just be a matter of, we're looking to dig about 4 inches down and put drainage stone in to put these on top of. So that would be the extent of what happens there. At the one next to the pavilion, there would be some more disturbance. It is some old sumac that are there. It's a bit of an opening in them, so we would only have to cut a few sumac that are in the few inch diameter range, and we would have to take up some of the roots in that footprint, that 10 by 12 footprint. But the goal would be about the same 4-inch depth with drainage stone put in. There's no concrete involved for these. That's pretty much the plan.
Cassie, can you share the site plan? I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look at the site plan and orient themselves. Thank you, Jonah.
Yeah.
And I've got the pictures from the site visit as well, which I think are pretty helpful.
Great. when was your site visit for this location?
The 24th, September 24th. Okay, hold on, let me pull up this. Probably the best showing of it. The one that's in the vegetation is shed number 1 down here. So that's the pavilion that was recently created. And then this is within some of the vegetation over here, and that's by the visitor center.
Okay. And you said you have photos from your site visit you can share?
Yeah, let me pull those up. So this is kind of a backed up view of where this shed is going to be that's in the vegetation. The pavilion is here on the right, and then it's kind of back in here a little bit, not super far. Some of the images I tried to show that kind of like existing clearing that he's talking about that's back there. I don't know how easy it is to see, but that's kind of like the general area. And then this is an overview of where the other proposed shed was going to be. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jonah, it was one of 2 locations, either over here a little more to the left or a little farther to the right, closer to the building. I don't know if you had a final decision on that.
Yeah, I had put the one that was closer to the wetland just on the plans, assuming that was the closest to the wetland. So we were still debating if we want to put it about 10 feet closer next to the windows there. So just to the left of those windows is one spot, and the other is more in line with the end of the building all the way down there. So we were still debating those 2 spots, but we could go either way.
And then I'll just go through the rest of these pictures, kind of get closer. This is the end of the building, visitor center, more to the left. The wetlands are kind of down immediately below. This is the area, the vegetated area that's supposed to be cleared slightly by the pavilion. And you can see there is a little bit of a clearing back there.
And the photo that's in my application has a bit of a better picture of the clearing too.
I can go back to that.
Yeah, so you can see from that angle, it's not quite as dense as it looks from the outside. So it's just a few sumac that would be cut.
And if you go back to the site plan, where the vegetation is being cut, just so I understand, is that?
Yeah, down there, number 1.
Roughly 50. How far is that from the wetland?
It's 50 plus 50 to 60.
Mm-hmm. And where is the limits of 100-year flooding relative to these locations? Do you know that?
I did just get that actually. It's a funny map here because the buildings are all the way around. So just from the visitors, but you can see just where the wetlands are. There's to the right of the wetlands there from the visitor center around to the pavilion is a little bit of a plateau that's up a bit. Mm-hmm. So that little plateau is just beyond the 100-year flooding, and down in that wetland area is in the 100-year flooding. So in the plateau there, where the sheds are, is in the between 100 and 500-year flood zone. Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Are there any questions from other members of the commission? Hearing none, are there any questions from members of the public in attendance? All right. Hearing none. Does anyone care to make a motion regarding this request for determination of applicability?
So we'd be looking at a negative determination of applicability, and then for for those of us that don't have everything memorized, what type would seem to make the most sense in this case?
So the options for negative determinations are first, that the work described in the request is not an area subject to protection under the Act or the buffer zone. So I don't think that's applicable. The next two options are the work described in the request is in an area subject to protection, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area, therefore does not require a notice of intent. The next one, 3, is the work described as in the buffer zone as defined in the regulations, but will not alter an area subject to protection.
We don't think there's BLSF that comes to this location, right?
Based on the description, no.
Yeah.
And so 3 gives us the option of a limited number of conditions if we feel any are necessary for work in the buffer zone.
All right. I guess I don't really feel like we need to do any conditions unless others want to have some kind of pre-construction notification or that kind of thing, but this is like super minor.
I agree. It's minimal disturbance. I think it's like, what, less than 250 square feet total. I think what is I guess the clarifying question, Jonah, would be the soil that is excavated to accommodate the stone. Where will that be disposed?
Great question that I had not thought of that. Yes, we'll put it in the right place. Not in the floodplain.
So perhaps that would be a condition the commission might want to consider, is that any excess soil will be properly disposed outside of areas subject to protection and their buffer zones.
That makes sense.
Or at least reused. All right, so I will move that we issue a negative determination of applicability type 3, that the area that the work is within the buffer zone, but will not alter an area subject to protection. Adding the condition that soils removed for the placement of the shed shall be disposed or reused outside of protected resource areas.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Roll call vote. August?
Aye.
Busa?
Aye.
Buttrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
He froze. Just in time. Oh, there he
Okay.
is. Okay.
All right. Let the record show Commissioner Ryan gave us a thumbs up as an aye. Commissioner Teffer is absent. Commissioner Whittemore?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Am I still frozen?
No, you're back.
Okay, all right.
All right. Next item, request for certificate of compliance. Public meeting continued from September 13th, City of Easthampton, Whitebrook and Broadbrook, Mass. DEP file number 151268, maintenance dredging, maps 151 and 165, lots 166 and 1. We continued this from our last meeting, can't speak, pending receipt of a stamped engineer's statement, since the drawings were stamped as well. Are we in receipt of this?
Yes, I've received both.
Great. So is there any further discussion from members of the commission? Would anyone care to make a motion regarding the issuance of a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 151268?
I'll make a motion that we issue a CFC for the Broadbrook maintenance dredging project.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, roll call vote. August?
Aye.
Busa?
Aye.
Buttrick? Commissioner Buttrick, are you present or absent?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Teffer is absent. Whittemore?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
I'll get that sent to you guys as soon as I can, get it all processed.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right, next on the agenda, enforcement actions. Cassie, are there any updates regarding 10 O'Neill Street?
No updates at this time.
Okay. Next item, Autumn Properties, rear 161 to 165 Northampton Street.
Yeah. So Mr. Boyle is here for that item. And I did a site visit recently. I want to say, gosh, what day was that? Hold on. On the 20th, November 20th, we did a site visit with Mr. Boyle and myself and Mark Reed and Dan Nietzsche of GZA. And at the visit, we reviewed, the vegetation management that GZA has completed over the years there. Let's see what else. And they haven't done any other activity back there. There's no additional mowing or anything like that. The original violation was a kind of path cleared within the wetland area for like a dog run and just kind of access. And they've kind of just left it be. I have photos I can share with you guys and show you that. And what else? Oh, I did get the updated document as well, the report from GZA with the dates on the images that were taken. If anyone wants to see that as well, but I can share the site photos now if you like.
I think sharing the site photos will be adequate now. If you could share some of the highlights.
Yeah.
David, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see here. All right, so this is kind of general area, and you can see that it's not as dense yet where the in the rest of the forested area where the clearing occurred, but it's such a dense canopy that it's not going to grow back the same way or as quickly. But it certainly wasn't overtaken by invasives, and the invasive management seems to be completed well. This is kind of the entrance to that area, so it is kind of filled back in there where it's had a little more light accessibility. And then the rest of these pictures are just kind of going along that path. Mm-hmm. Some areas, yeah, this is kind of near the end of it, a little more filled in, better than others. And that's other areas a little more obvious.
I think the primary concern at the time was that this would give a foothold for invasives to come in and start overtaking. So I think it looks like it's progressing well. Does anyone else have any comments? Right.
Nope, let's get it off the books.
I like that idea. Is there a motion to, I'm not sure what the right term would be, rescind the enforcement order?
Lift the enforcement orders.
Lift the enforcement order?
Motion to lift the enforcement order associated with rear 161 to 165 Northampton Street, PO 2016-001.
I'll second.
Right, roll call vote. August.
Aye.
Yusa.
Aye.
Patrick.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Zephyr is absent. Whittemore.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Great, and Mr. Burrell, I'll send you a letter to that effect. There's no form that accompanies the lifting of an enforcement order, so I'll send you a letter just kind of stating that.
Sure. Thank you, and sorry for the trouble.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay. Bye now.
Right. Cassie, are there any updates regarding 37 South Street?
No, not yet, but it's the remaining few, so I'm going to get on it.
Excellent. All right. Are there any open space updates?
Yeah, so the big one is for Echodale Orchard. We determined at the last meeting that we're going to try to keep some of the native shrub islands that are out there, and I'm working on flagging those so that Jay can go out and mow, and I just haven't finished it yet, unfortunately. I was going to do it Thursday and I was sick Thursday. That's why my voice is still weird. So, but yeah, so hopefully by the end of the week, I'll have it done being flagged. And as soon as I have that, I want to try to have a meeting on site with Jamie and the woman from Land Stewardship Inc. just to kind of finalize it before we do the big mow. And then whenever Jay can do it, we'll just do it. And then after that, we'll figure out when we'll finalize a date for the cut stem treatment. But yeah, just moving along.
Great. Thank you. And you said Lathrop is experiencing a change in leadership. So hopefully updates on that soon.
Yeah, so basically where they're at now is that they're just trying to navigate how to get it signed off, like the actual just administrative process of getting it signed off by city council and the mayor. So we're just navigating that. But I don't think there's anything, like no changes or anything have been made to it since you guys reviewed it. So.
Okay. Great. All right, compliance updates of note.
Yeah, okay. So the first one that I actually have something for is the solar project 232 Park Street. They've requested an extension of the order, which is set to expire in November 27th of this year.
Mm-hmm.
They've requested the extension. Everything is all the construction is done, but they still have not completed 2 growing seasons for the wetland replication area. So they need more time to get those reports finished and then submit, their final review of that in the request for the certificate of compliance. So they asked for an extension instead.
Okay. And I think you included a link to their request.
I think I did. I definitely got a request and I'm realizing I don't know if I put it in there. Let's see.
There's something. What would this be under? Change request?
No, I think I didn't put it in there. I can show it to you guys now as the email.
Yeah, if you could, that would be great. And I think, let's see the content of it. But
just a second.
I'm curious why a 3-year extension is necessary for is it 2 years of monitoring?
I believe that's typical to growing seasons. I'm sure that's how we phrased it. I think 3 years is just the standard, but I think they'd be happy with less than 3 years if that's what the commission wants to do. Here we go.
Are there still ongoing questions at this site about the function of one of the basins? Or am I thinking of the wrong location?
The review of the basins would be part of the request for certificate of compliance, I would think. I'm thinking that at the last time we looked at them, I don't know if it was resolved, but there was questions about whether or not they were like vegetated enough or getting vegetated enough. I can go out there and look at them again and get updated pictures if you guys want. Hold on, just ask me to get that letter. So here's the part where he says, officially that they would like to request the extension. I don't think it even says 3 years necessarily.
Well, this was received well within the 30-day, at least 30 days in advance of the order expiring. Cassie, do you know what calendar year, growing season year the replication areas were constructed in?
Yeah, it was either, I want to say it was 2020. or 2021, but it was like the last thing that they did.
Right, it usually is. Not a criticism, it's a it's a normal occurrence. All right, I don't see any particular issue. If they intend for 2021 and 2022 to be the complete growing seasons, I think I would just request, Cassie, that you revisit the if there were any annual reporting requirements, and perhaps schedule a site visit during the growing season of 2022.
Okay.
Or request an update on the status of progress at the end of this growing season, and then see where things stand. Does anyone think Cassie should schedule a site visit for this year, or wait until the beginning of next growing season?
I think it wouldn't hurt to check out the basins again. I can't remember when we were out there last. Do you remember, Jay, how long ago that's been? But as I recall,
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while. So no, I don't.
There were questions about whether they vegetated enough, and I think we were out there either in the rain or just after the rain, but there also seemed to be a lot of water in one or two of them. So I think it would be worth taking a look so that we're not waiting all winter with those conditions if there's an opportunity to address it earlier.
So the last site visit that I recorded was April 21st or 22nd of 2021.
So is that a site visit you could schedule before our next meeting?
I would think so. They're pretty accommodating. And two, also, I think they'd be fine if we just went on our own.
Yeah. Yes, I would say I don't think that they need to be present if you're just kind of collecting observations.
Right. Yeah, definitely could do that before the next meeting.
Great. So let's do that. But does the commission want to take action on this request this evening?
You want to do the site visit first and then make that decision?
Sure. They filed their request, which is their only administrative obligation relative to timeline. So I think that's fair. So we will.
I would say we just do it, get it off our plates and, do the site visit or whatever in parallel.
Is there
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the site visit would reveal that would disincline the commission to issue an extension.
Okay. So with that, is there a motion to, I guess then the question is, do we want to grant a 2 or a 3 year extension? And I guess I have no issue with the 3 year extension in the event that there's additional timeline needed for corrective actions. How do others feel?
I'll move to issue a 3 year extension for file number 1510293.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. All those in favor, roll call vote. August?
Aye.
Yusa?
Aye.
Buttrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Teffer is absent. Whittemore?
Recused.
Excellent. Motion carries. 3 year extension granted. Cassie, you'll take care of the paperwork.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'll let you all know when I schedule the site visit.
Excellent. Thank you.
Can I ask a quick public question?
Yes.
Outside of the commission, was there any determination about directly offsite of this site about trees impacts to city property in regards to degradation of the forest land right outside the boundary? Is that in the purview of the commission?
We decided that was parks or Dontuck Park, right? We talked about that last time, I think.
No, I think I'm talking directly south of the site, which is open space owned by the city. I think we had about 20 trees since completion. that fell down
But they blew over during, windstorms, right?
for a lot of water on the ground
Yes, okay.
that wasn't really there before. So I'm just curious as part of the public, at least 20 trees have fallen down right there on the property line. So is that a concern to the commission or outside of the purview?
I think it depends on where this is relative to the commission's jurisdiction, whether or not it's a concern.
So when I reviewed it, and I know, Michael, this is, I guess it was a while ago, they are outside of the property line of this parcel that the solar project is associated with. And, but the trees themselves are within the wetland. And it's possible that they fell because they were newly exposed to that wind, but I don't know like what that means in terms of the commission can, if it's not on the parcel, like, I don't know how.
Yeah, I think the wetlands go right up to the property line. So with the cutting of the trees, I could see wind having an effect, but also it seemed like there was a lot of water pooling more than usual. And the roots got soaked and they're just falling down. It seemed there was grading there, so just a general comment. It's been a bad year for trees, but it just seems abnormal a little bit.
Cassie, sorry, Michael.
I mean, we're talking trees that are 50 feet or higher just falling down. It's quite weird to see all these trees just falling down.
We have photos or something.
I remember, I don't know who took the photo, but I remember there were photos of the trees that had fallen over.
Yeah, I have photos I can show you guys. Hold on a second.
Yeah, because all the other trees were removed, these things are now on the edge of, an area that's exposed to wind they were never exposed to before. So, and it's wet, so they're getting blown over.
Yeah, I can share the picture if you guys want. I think that what was determined last time was that they were. I thought it was like it mattered that they weren't on the property. So, but hold on, I'll show you the pictures.
Yeah, I think they requested a 25-foot buffer.
Is it north or south of the?
It's south of the Far East array.
These look like very shallow root systems that in that
Yes.
first photo.
Yeah, that looks like what I remember. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, but see this root system on that last picture? I mean, that's at least like 10 feet high. Some of them are big, and you can see
Which
the
means
water.
that they're wide, not that they're deep.
Right, yeah.
They're not deep.
That's usually indicative. Can you go back a photo,
Yeah.
Cassie? I mean, these are, that's usually indicative of a shallow depth to groundwater or some other restricted layer. And some of those trunks look like they've adapted to shallow groundwater. What do you think, Julie?
I mean, I think the exposure probably does play a role, but trees have been falling down left and right everywhere this year because of all the storms that we've had. So I don't know that we can necessarily pin this on the project in particular.
So some of these fell really early in the year before we had the heavy rains we've had. So it's, I don't know what it is.
These images are from April 21st or 22nd, excuse me, of this year. Kind of just an overview of the whole area.
Yeah, it looks like a good blow headed right in that spot there.
Yeah, but thank you. I mean, it's directly south. They were looking maybe to put a trail system. So,
I'm sorry. Was that a trail system part of what project?
I think maybe the city was looking to connect a trail to Nonotuck Park, and I think they asked some landowners for right of way to connect to Plain Street to Nonotuck
Okay.
Park.
That's something I've heard about that before. But I don't know if this was part of the path of it was here, and it's not something that's been like
Right.
finalized, as far as I understand it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Cassie, are there any other project updates you want to highlight?
Let me double check real quick.
I think the only other thing I saw of note was the pre-construction meeting for Beacon Solar and your indication that, so this is 50 Florence Road, DEP file number 151314 for solar,
Yes.
and that there are still some outstanding pre-construction submittals.
So there's really only one last thing. We had the pre-construction meeting
On
very recently. Let's see.
I think it was 9/16.
Yes, on the 16th. Thank you. On the 16th, but they hadn't completed the flagging of the wetlands that are within 50 feet of the limit of work. Everything else was installed, the erosion controls, everything was good to go. But there was a misunderstanding of what that needed to be. They thought it was just going to be the same as the silt fencing, which is the case in a lot of places, but not everywhere. So there's a couple places they just needed to add more flagging for the wetlands that were kind of beyond the silt fencing. And so we're waiting for that to be completed. Everything else has been completed. The two big things I just wanted to highlight were that they submitted their invasive species management plan, and then also the plan for the permanent markers. And I don't know, I think it's just like administrative approval. If you guys want to look at them and see what you think. I don't know what the procedure is officially, because this is the first one where it says, for review and approval by the commission. Those are the two items. You can take a look at them now if you guys are ready. I don't know if anyone got a chance to look at them ahead of time, but I can pull them up.
Okay, why don't you pull them up?
Yeah.
And Cassie, while you're doing, is this a project that has a SWIP?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so I'm assuming it was one of our conditions that the commission be provided with copies of weekly SWIP and post-storm SWIP monitoring reports?
Yep. That's all part of it. They've already established who the person's going to be. Well, let me just get in here. Okay. So I don't know if you guys want to look at the SWIP. I can do that now, or we can do markers or all that stuff. I went over with them all that was required for the monitoring at the pre-construction meeting. Okay. Permanent marker plan is a little easier. We get on first. So in the order, it talks about just showing what the permanent markers are going to be and where they're going to be. In this one, for this order specifically, it's highlighted that there needs to be ones that mark the crossings, make it really obvious where the crossings are, because on site it's not super obvious where some of those are. So we provided this narrative description, and then I can go down to the plan below. Basically, the majority of the permanent markers will be the final fencing that's erected out around the structures itself, because they're going to have security fencing. But they're not going to be doing any landscaping outside of that security fencing. So that lines up pretty well. And then there's some places where it doesn't. So where that's the case, they're going to put these steel fence posts that are shown on the plan. And I'll show in a second. And painted red, extend 4 feet above the ground, finished grade. Just let me know when you're ready for the plan. You can scroll on.
So what about those markers allows an uninformed person to understand that there are wetlands?
I mean, that's a good question. I think in the past, I mentioned them potentially like having like a sign also on it that says, you know, wetland boundary. I think that they would probably be amenable to that if we want to ask them to add that too. I know in the past the commission has, you know, considered things like boulders that don't necessarily have a sign on them. So I don't know, like this is more, you know, this is more of a commercial endeavor. So it's a little, it makes more sense. The aesthetics aren't really as big of a factor. So maybe it makes more sense to have the signs.
I'm also thinking boulders, like you said, those are typically residential.
Yeah.
Single family residential properties or residential properties. And this I would see as a project where people coming in the future to do routine maintenance likely are less, a more detailed or descriptive sign or stencil might be more beneficial here.
We've seen the 3/4-inch rebar with little plastic discs on top that identify boundaries in some locations.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else have any thoughts or suggestions there?
A sign would be nice of some sort, something, a permanent sign or a durable sign anyways.
I agree. Without turning it into some sort of sign, I also don't know that a 2 3/8 inch post is necessarily very permanent. So I think having the sign there would make it more clear that it means something and is to stay put.
I'm going to show you the plan too, just where they want to put them. Let's see. So primarily, so these are for areas where the security fencing is not going to necessarily be there. And then additionally, in the order, it mentions at the crossing. So they're going to have them at the crossings, as you see here. This is the area where the security fencing isn't there. This is additionally for the crossing, the other crossing. That's it.
Okay.
So in the case of the row, they would face the array with the signs, correct?
Yeah,
So
because the maintenance will be happening here, so it's going to prevent encroachment towards the wetland.
Yeah.
What about that isolated wetland here? Is that isolated or is that somehow connected? Sorry, to the north of your cursor, Cassie?
This one right here,
Yeah.
I think there's proposed fencing all along this area. Security
Okay,
fencing, they
I
won't
see.
do vegetation management in
I
here.
see. Thank you.
Mhm.
What is the fencing marked as on the drawing? I can't distinguish it very well.
Pretty much is going to go along. I don't know if it shows the fence explicitly, but the LOD, limited disturbance, my understanding is it's one and the same because they're just put the fencing right along.
So they'll be fencing all along the roads on both sides?
Yeah, that's my understanding. I can double check that. Maybe not. Maybe they'll only have.
What is the what is the line with the circles that goes just around the arrays?
Is that silt fence?
It's probably silt fence. Security fence. Oh, that's a security fence. Okay, so maybe.
Yeah, so those areas along, it doesn't make sense to me that there'd be fencing all along both sides of the road.
Yeah, you're right. So it doesn't. And so they have the markers at the crossings then.
So then I think that raises the question again about that wetland that's close to the road.
This one, yeah. Well, let's see. Yeah, it looks like the security fencing goes here. And then not there. Yeah. Yeah, so is this something that the commission would like there to be additional markers there? Okay.
Unless they can tell us there's a good reason not to be concerned with that location.
And likewise, it gets close to the road where it bends, where that CX04 and CX05 are written right next to each other.
Those two wetlands. And yeah, so to
And the one on the
west of
opposite
those.
side.
Over here.
Yes.
There's no more over there. Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense to me. It's just those areas. Okay. So, for especially this stretch here, and if they did, add a stretch here, would you want, the interval has to be, I think that the order has a set interval of like no greater than 25 feet apart for each marker. Would you guys prefer there to be some kind of sign like saying wetland boundary on each marker, or just periodically?
I think it depends on how they plan on creating a sign. If it's something that gets attached, then I don't think it needs to be on every single one in that row of them, because that seems like a lot. But I also think it makes sense when they're just marking the corners of a wetland crossing where there are just 4 of them, that they be marked appropriately, each one.
Makes sense.
So would these signs need to be higher than the 4 feet that they initially wrote in their letter? Because it said 4 feet painted, but now we're asking for actual signs. So I'll ask from public view, how high would these signs be required to be?
I mean, the intent is to alert people to the presence of a wetland and a limit of access. So I'm trying to picture 4 feet. I don't think these are highly trafficked areas, so I guess I'm not as concerned. It's not like it's a public park or school or something.
Well, didn't the city at one point, were they talking about putting trail lines together or possibly bringing children through, you know, this might have been before COVID, but I thought they were talking about eventually attaching trails. So I didn't know if people would be going in the area at some point in the future.
I think this is still private. This is still all private. And I think if that were the case, then the commission could revisit the topic.
Okay.
Because I think if the city were to undertake a project like that at any location, we'd want the trails to be adequately marked as well.
We could go back at it and make sure at that point.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Deborah. Okay. So Cassie, are you good with some feedback?
Yeah, no, this is perfect. I'll run it back to him. And then when they update the plan, if they make all those changes, this one, I mean, I think I guess my question is, does this need to get like administrative approval before I can issue the building permit? Or is it more just we've got the plan going and it'll be squared away, make sure it's implemented correctly later, just to know if like I needed to hold off.
I would say see if you can get something, a revised submittal by the end of this week.
Yeah.
And then go from there. I'd rather not give a total green light until this has been resolved.
Agree. Okay, that sounds like a good plan.
Okay.
Awesome, thanks everyone. The next thing I wanted to show you was their invasive management plan. We can go through that quick. So it's removing the existing invasives and preventing the future plants through monitoring. Trying to think of some highlights. So here's the species they indicated that are on the site.
A black locust tree is invasive. Ooh.
Yeah.
They're the odd invasive that are invasive but also useful.
I have extra if you want some.
Depends on how big they are.
Yeah, let's see. So so it kind of highlights the response.
Cassie, did they say who is taking care of the invasives?
Well, let's see. I know that they did. Let's see. Might be, excuse me, Beacon Solar is going to be taking care of it. Excuse me, GEI consultants potentially.
I guess the question is someone familiar with the species and treatment, removal and treatment going to be implementing this plan?
Yes.
I'll get clarification on that.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Can you scroll up where they're talking about foliar? So when they talk about in their plan, do they talk about their monitoring and treatment schedule, notification of the commission prior to use of herbicides? Julie, do you know, would they be required to have an applicator's license to do this on a commercial property?
I believe for glyphosate, you have to have one, regardless of where you're doing it. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's true.
Does anyone else know off the top of their heads?
I think if it's a professional property, you have to. If you're a homeowner, you might be able to use it without it. But if you have a business, you have to have a
Might get into it further down. Hold on.
Can we see what they're using the herbicides on before you go past?
Sweet. Sorry, what is follicular?
Where are you?
Autumn olive? Follicular or spot? Do they mean foliar?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm surprised that there wouldn't be treatment other than hand pulling of bittersweet. That's unlikely to work with anything large. Are there large black locusts on the site? Does anyone know?
They might get into it farther in the report. I know that there's like a map of where all the invasives are,
I'm just
at least.
thinking that we probably don't want to encourage removal of large black locust trees that are already mature.
Mm-hmm.
That's typically frowned upon. Unless there's a planting plan, at least to go with it.
Could I ask a question about the Japanese knotweed?
Yeah.
It says removed plants shall be disposed in the landfill. Are they bagging it? Or what are they doing with it? Because for the bittersweet, they're saying bagged and disposed of. Knotweed, it just says removed will be just disposed.
I'm guessing knotweed is only bad when the seeds are on it.
No, knotweed can sprout from little cuttings.
From the stalk or the cuttings.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's a survivor.
Mhm.
Unfortunately.
Say hello to your new plant overlord.
I had a knotweed salad. It was kind of an appetizer at Homestead Restaurant, and it was cooked. It was cooked it was very tasty, actually.
Yeah, that's how we're going to defeat it. We're going to eat it all.
We're going to eat it. We're going to eat it. That's the plan.
Like that's working fast for eradication.
We can feed all of Western Mass.
There you go.
There are other invasives they've done that with too, right? They try to make something with kudzu.
I think maybe, yeah.
It's not still sprouting, Jay, is it?
No, it's going to seed right now. It's terrible. It's 12 feet high. With all the rain we've had, it's out of control.
How is knotweed controlled in its native habitat? What outcompetes that? Because we definitely don't want that here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is there some beetle we have to find and bring over like we did for Lustre?
We need wild hogs to keep it down.
Or murder hornets, I think.
Murder hornets.
I don't think that'll do it.
So
lantern fly.
is there enough here that we want to maybe individually provide comments on this to Cassie. How long is this? We're not halfway through.
Yeah, we're on page, let's see. Treatment recommendations, monitoring protocol and response actions, schedule. Every 6 months, 3 years.
I think I would want the commission to be notified of the schedule and provided with a minimum of 48 hours notice prior to any herbicide treatment, and updated notification in the event of any change in qualified professionals performing the treatment and or changes in their credentials.
Did we specify a timeline for how long this treatment was meant to go on?
Directed every 6 months for 3 years.
No, but did we specify anything?
I think not. In the order of conditions, no.
Yeah, Cassie, can you send us I think it does make sense to look at it more closely.
Yeah, absolutely. I can send it to everybody.
Is there a reason why it appears to be called ASTM Phase 1 Environmental Site Assessment? I think
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes it's not called that here on like my saved, the way it's saved. Sometimes when you open a PDF, though, it's named something else. I don't know why. But the way I have it saved,
ever had that happen.
happens to me all the time. I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with my Adobe thing, but
okay.
Let's see.
I think I know how to fix that if I were the consultant. I think it's on there. I'm not your Cassie.
Okay. Just see if there's anything else exciting. Okay. Here's the map. You guys want to see it? But I guess if you're all going to review it anyways later.
Well, it's just good to get an overview of what's in the document so that we can provide comments. So I guess, do they go over how they've established kind of like the baseline data and what determines success of the plan?
I think in the beginning it did say that.
Okay. Okay.
Prevent future establishment of invasives through monitoring, maintenance, remove existing.
So to me, that suggests that they're not just treating the areas that they've identified, but in subsequent years, they're going to completely reevaluate the entire limits of work. Because otherwise, how will they know if other areas have been colonized?
Right. Yeah, they do mention preventing this threat into the future, especially in the disturbed areas that they're going to be creating. So, and they submitted the pollinator seed mix that's supposed to be used in all the disturbed areas.
Great. Can you share that with us if you haven't already? I'm curious about that. Okay. So you'll send us this. Any other comments on the matter, or can we move on? Okay.
It starts with all this up here. And here's
okay. Okay. Julie, are you familiar with Siberian wallflower?
No.
No.
Okay. I'm just curious about native versus non-native.
Just somebody that's not getting out and dancing, that's all.
Hey. Shall we move on then?
I'm gonna mute myself.
Definitely.
Is that because it's too cold?
Seems like a good reason to, Dan. All right. Are there any other project updates at this time?
No, that was the last one.
Okay. Next item, general business, meeting minutes, September 13th, 2021.
Deb proofread them again, and I got a lot of edits. Those are all good to go. And there was a lot of mistakes, so I really appreciate it. Sometimes I had a good track record for a little bit there. I didn't have a lot of errors, but this time I did. So they're definitely better than they were because of her. So those changes were made.
All right. So is there a motion to accept the meeting minutes of September 13th, 2021 as revised?
I'll make that motion to accept the meetings from September 13th.
Okay, roll call vote. August.
Aye.
Busa.
Aye.
Buttrick.
Abstain, for I was absent.
Thank
Oh,
you.
that's right.
Ryan.
Aye.
Teffer, absent. Whittemore.
Aye.
Motion carries. Just as to beat the dead horse, we have one meeting in October because of the holiday, and that is October 25th. So that's
I
it.
have one more thing to ask you guys about if you have time, and I can put it on the next meeting if you don't have time. I know it was not there.
Let's see.
There's a question about tree removal. If someone wants to remove a tree, it's up for debate amongst different communities how that's dealt with. Some communities kind of wrote like a policy for administrative approval. Some communities want you to do an RDA or even an NOI if you're just trying to remove one tree that happens to be in the buffer zone. What I've seen and done in the past, like when I was with Greenfield, it was where, not removing the stump, it's identified as a proven hazard by an arborist, and considering removing it during like a time when the ground is stable. And I don't know if maybe this makes sense to have a broader discussion next meeting, but I was just curious what your thoughts were on it because it came up recently. Someone was asking about.
I'm fine with coming up with a set of criteria for administrative approval. Sorry, long day. For the removal of up to a certain number of trees, with other criteria and caveats, because I think if they're in or at the edge of someone's, maintained residential property, then, it's something of a burden.
We had a tree warden at one point, but I'm not sure. We don't have one now, so I'm not sure how it works.
We do have a tree warden, but they only manage the trees on municipal property.
Okay.
Yeah. But she is new. It's a very recent thing.
Yeah, okay. Because I know we lost our original person.
So Cassie, do you want to?
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up because I was investigating trying to remove.
Sorry, Michael.
Oh, go ahead, finish.
Oh, okay. I was just going to suggest that Cassie maybe draft something based on what she's, seen in other communities, and we can discuss that prior. If she can send that around prior to our next meeting, maybe we could have a bit of a working session on it on the 25th. I'm sorry, Michael, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I think I'm connection issues, but I also had that question as well because I have trees near the wetlands that I was thinking about taking down. So I don't want to be topping trees or removing trees that I shouldn't. So I do have that question as well. So thanks, Cassie.
Yeah, I can definitely get something drafted and started for the next meeting for sure.
But I think the tree warden only has jurisdiction on public trees, right? So
Yes, yeah.
But I think one of the advantages to the commission members having a part or full-time, thankfully, conservation agent is that there are certain things that, perhaps don't necessarily need to take time on the agenda.
Right. Yeah, if that would be, that's kind of the way, if it's okay with you guys, I was thinking of maybe doing it that way. If the people who want to remove a tree can meet this certain criteria that's already been established, then I can just go ahead. If they don't want to meet that, then I'll be like, well, you have to come and ask the commission about it and kind of do it that way. But yeah, we can get into details next meeting, but.
Sounds good.
Okay, great.
What holiday's coming up?
I don't know, but it's on your list.
Columbus Day.
Columbus, yeah.
Oh,
We're almost in October.
And we'll be inside at the complex, right?
I don't think
For
so.
No?
we're not doing indoor meetings. I think we're going to revisit that in November, is my understanding. I don't know if we're going to have them, but that was when it's going to be revisited, I thought.
Well, I said I won't cut my hair until we're back in the office.
Plan. All right, with that, are there any other items, or is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
All
Third.
those in favor? August,
I,
Yusa,
Aye.
Patrick,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Teffer is absent, Whittemore.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a lovely
Goodbye.
evening.
Good night.
Good night.
Night. Go on.
See